From Fox News, House Republicans to vote on bill abolishing IRS, eliminating income tax. Vote on abolishing IRS, part of deal between Speaker McCarthy and the House Freedom Caucus. Fox News Digital has learned the House will be voting on a Georgia Republican Rep. Buddy Carter's reintroduced Fair Tax Act that aims to reel in the IRS and remove the national income tax, as well as other taxes, and replace them with a single consumption tax. The vote on the bill was made as part of the deal between House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and members of the House Freedom Caucus, and was pushed forward in his quest for the gavel last week. Okay, full stop. The failures of the GOP in this midterm are the greatest gift to all of us. You know why? Kevin McCarthy thought he would not need to negotiate with the Freedom Caucus members because they were going to have a red wave so pronounced the 20 or so vote holdouts would have been completely irrelevant. And then because the GOP underperformed, he had to go crawling to members of the Freedom Caucus, as well as people like, it's like Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, and then say, okay, fine, what do you want? And now we get something as bold as abolishing the IRS. Vote on the House floor. It's not going to happen. No. The Senate will reject it. But I want y'all to understand, when the Democrats vote to support the IRS, when the Democrats, they've already voted to defend the 87,000 IRS agents, when you're having dinner with your family and your Aunt Edna is like, well, the Republicans, they're evil. And you'd be like, yeah, I hear you. But man, the Democrats voted to defend the IRS. Get your Democrat relatives to defend the IRS in front of everybody and see how well that goes.
The IRS is actually a good thing, Tim. Easily defendable.
No. I actually agree with you. Thank you so much for bringing this up. I mean, the IRS, they're pretty much like those little, gnomes, but instead of also like those little Christmas elves. But instead of leaving stuff, they just take stuff for themselves. And without them, who's going to finance the next Epstein Island, right? Who's going to make sure that the special interests get all their money? Who's going to make sure that corn, seed oils are subsidized, right? It has to be the IRS agents. They're very bold and beautiful, brave members of the government that, of course, are not working for a corrupted, hijacked government that, of course, is spending our money and wasting it on special interests. So, we got to protect the IRS, guys.
Personally, I love being rated for $600 transactions on Venmo. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get a letter in the mail, and it's going to say you owe $73. And you're going to be like, what do I owe $73 for? This is ridiculous. And they're going to have your list of transactions. They're going to say, well, we think that this transaction was income. And you're going to be like, that was me moving. Like, I moved money from my checking account to my Venmo. That's not new money. No, it looks like new money to us. So you owe $73. Good luck. You're going to call a lawyer. Lawyer's going to be like, for $1,000, I'll send a letter that will get that $73. You're going to be like,
strongly worded letter.
That'll get the $73. They'll knock it down by about like 50%.
That's
so
right.
You have to pay like, 38 or whatever.
I guess if you're rich and you're like, it's the thought that counts. It's the principle of things. But for the average person, you're going to be gutted. So we're getting a lot of this, I don't know, symbolic victories.
It's all symbolic, and it's all really lame. There is value in like the meme factor, I suppose, in like the culture war or for talking points, but there's no substance there. It's all just,
feels good.
It does feel good. It's fun. I mean, like I said, I love to meme. I like cyberbullying people in Washington as much as the next libertarian, but when it comes to good. It does. But there's no there. There's no substance. You know that the Senate's going to turn it down. It's not going to happen. But it's good to get the Democrats to say we like the IRS.
Yeah, I love hearing abolish the IRS, but don't tease me with a good time.
I love hearing
without letting me finish. Without letting me finish here. Come on, guys. Seriously, this is not right.
You know what would feel a lot
cool.
better is if they actually did something. But we know that the Uniparty can't have that.
Yes. So we have these symbolic gestures that amount to nothing.
They're cute.
Won't change anything, and of course they're patting themselves on the back. Look, guys, we did this. I mean, you're pathetic. Seriously, absolutely pathetic.
I don't want to shoot the process in the foot unnecessarily because it hasn't gone to the Senate yet, and it may get passed through the Senate. Even if it does, then could Biden veto it? I think Biden could veto it.
They passed the Inflation Reduction Act with which major support from the Republicans. You think they're going to pass a bill that's going to ban the IRS?
Well, they're supposed to.
I wish they should. They should at least get rid of all those tens of thousands of new agents that are going to be hounding poor people. And the latest reports that are coming out in 2022, the IRS overwhelmingly went after and targeted poor people more than they did people with significant amount of income. They're doing this in order to, of course, keep people in line as they literally print money out of thin air. This is such just a disrespectful slap in the face to anyone paying attention here, as our economy is being deliberately destroyed in order to push a great reset. We're here today, and there's no going back from this. We have this little symbolic gesture. It's nothing.
I do enjoy the optimism, though.
I'm kind of getting the feeling that Luke doesn't like the government.
Just a little.
Just a tiny.
Yeah, we were at Turning Point USA, and Luke, I think, was saying defund the IRS or abolish the IRS, and all these young Republicans were like, yeah! And now you see the Republican leadership in the House proposing that we do it. So like,
not the leadership. They didn't want to do this.
Well, they got the leadership to do it. They got Kevin McCarthy to do it. So, they are supposed to represent the will of the people regardless. And so maybe the will of the people is shifting and people are listening to that.
I put a poll in the chat, abolish the IRS. 4% said no.
Yeah. But the thing,
I want to know who these 4% are.
Yeah,
the problem I've got is
bots.
I don't think
They're
you can
illiterate
fix-
people.
I don't think you can fix politics with politics. That's the problem I'm at.
The 4% is the people that couldn't read the poll.
Yeah, they accidentally
hit
clicked the wrong one. Oh, shoot.
Oh, it's shifting though. Now it went 3 or 4. So it's like as more votes come in, there's about 2,700. It's people are saying.
Yesterday they voted to defund the 87,000 agents, and then today they voted to completely abolish the entire program?
No, they're going to.
Okay.
So they voted to get rid of the 87,000 agents, and the Democrats all voted in favor of these agents. No, but that does matter. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. The Senate's going to reject it. But seriously, that's going to be in every political ad in 2024. Every commercial is going to be like, Ro Khanna voted to support 87,000 new IRS agents to target your small bank account. It's every single one's going to say it.
No way. I think it's going to, I mean, we're too far away, especially when it comes to people's attention, especially when it comes to the upcoming election. There's no way they're going to remember this. I just don't see it personally myself. And, the Democrats wanting more government and more IRS agents. What a shocker.
Even if they do run ads, though, I mean, you have these people on the left right now. I mean, they're going to cheer for it anyways. They're going to say, okay, yeah. That's the virtuous thing to do. We should tax these people. We should tax the rich. That's what it's going to be.
We get to redistribute the wealth from people. They're going to start hot and bothered when they hear that.
They're going to start saying, "Well, it's a very important service provided to maintain our government." I mean, we're not anarchists, are
democracy.
we?
How is Ukraine going to get their weapons?
Luke, did you hear that?
What?
Someone said we're not anarchists?
Yeah, of course. They're all statist commies, all of these people. Especially the people who believe in the Parks Department. Don't get me started on that. But seriously, Ukraine has to get their money, right?
Yeah.
Why do you dislike the Parks Department so much?
Because it pisses me off. The way that they run and operate is absolutely nonsensical. It's a park. It doesn't need bureaucracy. It doesn't need government. And for the government to intervene, especially in places like New York City, because I lived in New York City, I loved New York City, and then there came the Parks Department that literally started to arrest people, give people summonses, and put them in court because they dared to walk through a park at a certain time that the Parks Department didn't like.
Central Park?
That to me is absolutely insane, draconian, and just top tier communism. Don't get me started. My blood pressure is going to go up. Stop it.
You should police the parks because otherers they're hubs for crime. Like at night, people.
Wait until you learn about poor neighborhoods, Ian.
And you all got to keep them clean too. The parks, and you got to pay people to go do that.
But how much funding do they really need?
I don't know. I wouldn't think a lot, but I could be wrong.
How did
you got to
government
protect the fire
in like the year 1800? There's no income tax.
Yeah, they did fine, and there was a lot of prosperity.
Well, it was
there was, of course. What do you mean? There was
a lot of killing of Native Americans in the 1800s. A lot of just.
But also before 1913, right? Before the Federal Reserve was enacted, before there was the creature from Jekyll Island, before there was this larger kind of income tax levied against everyone else. How did the government run? Pretty well, on a limited basis, and private business and private enterprise was allowed to prosper, and it did. And the roads were built magically, and they were still there magically. It's not magic. It's, of course, common sense. Whenever you have the government taken away from people, you have them depriving them of any kind of prosperity, of any kind of liberty, of any kind of freedom. And if you think the government has a duty to redistribute wealth, you're an absolute lunatic who is obviously just facilitating the larger transfer of wealth of your money to, of course, the big banks, the big corporations that truly do call the shots at government, and the most powerful people are only enriched by more government.
Look, that's racist.
I don't give a damn what it is. It's the truth, and I'm speaking my truths here because how else can you see it?
Well,
right? Make a counter argument. Make a counter argument.
How long until they write an article saying Republicans' effort to abolish the IRS is rooted in white supremacy?
I guarantee it exists.
It'll be soon.
100% it exists because they probably wrote it about libertarians already.
It probably already, yeah, it's probably already there.
You just gave them a great headline idea. So next week, I would say.
Media matters. Get on it. Write that thing.
Now, I'm a person of color, so they can't make that argument.
I'm transracial. You can be transgender. I'm transracial. So
I think I found the opposite.
Can't.
How federal tax law hurts Black Americans.
Thank you.
which is probably
Yeah.
true.
So actually, the IRS is racist.
Yes.
The tax code's racial disparities. Well, we got to get rid of all that.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
to counter your argument a little bit, Luke, is that I think a lot of the things like the power monopoly you're talking about could happen in the private sector as well. And so you need some form of government to protect the common man from mobs and mafias and things.
Ian,
So you have another mafia make up to fight the mafias. You have less mafias.
Technically, yeah,
the
you
mafia
do.
was created and made as powerful as they are because of the prohibition, because of the banning of alcohol, which was a stupid idea, because the government going around and poisoning people just to prove a larger point here. This is what led mafias to be as powerful as they are. You look at a lot of the cartels; they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the war on drugs. The biggest mafia of all, the government facilitating this larger kind of mafia growth.
also NASCAR.
Well, I think
Without prohibition, you don't get NASCAR.
what happens is
that's true.
This government
That's actually true. The NASCAR got started because dudes were souping up their cars to get away from the cops when they were running shine.
Oh yeah.
So you don't get NASCAR. You don't get NASCAR.
So what you're saying is if there was no government,
There
we'd
wouldn't
have
be
no
NASCAR.
NASCAR?
If there wasn't government,
we gotta have government.
Maybe the government is a good thing after all.
No, because there's still Indy, and NASCAR only turns left. It's the laziest racing. There's Indy 500 racing where they turn left and right. NASCAR's just left. I'm sorry, Mark. I know you love it, but it's just left turns. It's left turns and crashes. That's all anyone cares about.
I like Indy 500. That sounds fun.
Indy 500.
They turn right, you say.
They turn right and left.
Right and left.
Right?
Both.
Yeah, both.
Wow.
But the point I'm trying to make is that rather than just demonize, quote, the government, just acknowledge that our federal government's way too big. It's too influential in people's lives. It needs to be reduced in size. Not that there should never be any government ever, because I think some government is extremely valuable in protecting common people from corporations and things.
How dare you?
That's what police forces is like a local government.
All the big monopolies right now are as powerful as they are, abuse so much power and get away with so much. Big Pfizer, big agriculture, all those companies get away with it because of their connections with government and manipulating with government.
Ian's saying like a fire department is good. He's not saying
No, he's saying the government needs to be there to keep the corporations in check. Right? But I'm saying the government is there to make the corporations big and create monopolies.
You're arguing against the current iteration of government, which is massive power structures. Ian's basically saying there is some degree of government that's fine.
We fundamentally...
I think that's accurate.
No, here's what I'm saying. Let's get rid of everything. We don't need the bureaucracy that supports big pharma and all that. We don't need police departments or fire departments that can be private, but we do need at least one thing, a parks department.
Oh, yeah. We got to keep the parks clean.
Most important one, hands down.
Yeah, nothing else. The government literally just becomes a guy in a park being like, you can't come in.
Have you been talking to Mike Cernovich about it? He just had a revelation about how awesome the U.S. parks are.
No.
He's like, everyone should
The
be
U.S.
going to
parks are beautiful and they're awesome, yeah, and they should be preserved, obviously. But you could do that independently. You could do that privately. You don't need a parks department arresting people for walking in nature
Or camping.
Or camping. That to me is one of the biggest ridiculous ideas, that they could micromanage you being in nature.
Privatization of land and property and stuff like that does preserve property. If you want to save endangered species, the best thing you can do is have someone that has the resources get a bunch of them on their private land so no one can hunt them and they can take care of them, and then that will save the species. There's tons of species that have been saved throughout the whole world because of privatization. Same thing down in Africa. There's there's a lot of people that privatize the land for safaris and stuff, and people think, and I'm not sure if safari is the right word because it's not a hunt where it's just like sightseeing that they do, so they can see wild animals, and I probably used the wrong term.
Good.
But what it does is it preserves the land and it preserves the animals, because there's a financial incentive to preserve the land and preserve the animals so people can see them. You know, it's like there's a way to monetize things in a positive way. Like you can absolutely use the incentive of profit to have good results. That is one of the most obvious things living in modern society. It's so obvious that people don't see it. It's so prevalent that people don't see it. But privatization is generally a good thing. Now, it's not to say that there aren't problems or can't be problems, but privatization versus government, it's almost always better for privatization, because at the very least, you're not adding legal violence.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.